Look at my garbage can. It is nicht garbage. So, what's up, mein virtual self und me? Today is another decent day. We're going to be coming up on, in a few days. Last time I looked at the weather forecast, there's a thingy, a foot with a slipper. We might be having some 90-degree days, so yowcha. But yeah, anyways, I was thinking, with the whole climate thing, you could just let me think. The back part was, the process was, yes, it was like fart. I hope you could smell that. The whole thing was like solar and wind is like great because the fuel is right there, right? That's the main reason solar and wind is so useful, is because all power plants suffer from all the same downsides. Any of the construction pollution and resource sourcing pollution or whatever they may have is, relatively speaking, the same or similar. But if you want to play that game, it's similar. But the thing with coal, oil, natural gas, to a lesser extent nuclear, those kind of power plants all use fuel. But solar and wind and hydro, geothermal, I got problems with geothermal, but geothermal, wave, whatever, their fuel is at the source, and it's there. That's why they call it renewable. It's because it's just there. And I like solar because it's basically every drop of energy on Earth comes from the sun. Every point of energy on the Earth comes from the sun that we use today. Even geothermal comes from the sun in the form of jostled gravitational potential energy, sort of. Because it's like that. It's not the core of the Earth, but it's, geothermal heat. So, whatever. So that's what I was thinking. And I was also thinking, like, the reason for the rapid acceleration of the progress of solar photovoltaic is because all the surrounding governing technology was here when we really started to, we as a species, not just America or Europe, but America, Europe, China, India, everyone started to really go into solar. Everything was here. Computers, internet, materials scientists, everyone was already here. And we could just like go all in. If we started in the 70s, they were, all of the detractors probably would have been right. It would have taken 40 years for the efficiency to go from 1% to 3%. So it would have kind of been a bad investment. So it was a good investment to invest in computers. That was, and all the other things we were doing. So now was the best time to work on solar because the conditions were right. And the efficiency went from 1.7% to 17%, and it's still going up. Because they thought the theoretical limit was 17%, and then they were like, well, it is 17%, but it isn't 17% if you do this, and then layer on other things, and then, well, it is now 25% if you do that, but we can use a different material configuration and get it up to 32%. Now they're working on that. And it's like, see, there you go. Like I said, we have material scientists that can do it, and we have computers that are very energy intensive for one thing, but they have extreme processing power, so they can work that out and have a huge university structure and all around there. So it's just the right time. And so I was thinking also that the next thing that's going to come, because we got this whole climate thing going on that some people deny, but whatever. The next thing that's going to come soon is atmospheric scrubbing, which is the actual removal of CO2, and also paired with it is environmental geoengineering, weather modification net is what they called it in Star Trek. Why wasn't the weather modification net working? But geoengineering. We already do geoengineering, by the way. We just don't do it in the way that they think Jewish space lasers work. We have been doing geoengineering for like 6,000 years. Dad, 10,000 years when agriculture started. So, yeah, we've been doing geoengineering for a long time. I'm talking about a different scale, though. So, but yeah, atmospheric scrubbing, the large scale removal of CO2. So now we're moving on to what I was starting this video about after 10 minutes. I'm talking about, they're going to start constructing, these huge technology structures of like scrubbing CO2 out like they did in Apollo 13 with those CO2 scrubber things. And it's like, yeah, those work, except, they get dirty and then you have to like manually clean them. It's like, that's just a horrible way to do something. The better way to do it, of course, is to like use uh, micro microorganisms of some kind. So, you know, just go somewhere and have like, I don't know, 20, 30 big lakes, ponds somewhere. Whether you got to dig them yourself or not, doesn't matter. And fill them up with water. Make sure you got enough sun cover. And, you know, put a seed of the microorganism in there. And hopefully it's not in an area that's totally desert, but in an area where there's little flora and fauna, because that, just having some flora and fauna everywhere, that should provide the extra nutrients and stuff. Just nature blows stuff around. Having wind and stuff will blow crap into there, I'm pretty sure. Maybe, you know, hire ecologists and hire people to figure out all the nuances. Because you want to do as little active work as possible for this. So yeah, you put your seed droplet in there and into all your ponds, and then you just wait for it to bloom out. And when you get a nice fungal bloom covering the ponds, you use your solar powered pumps, pump out all the sludge into your electric trucks that Tesla gave you, or whoever. Pump that sludge into there, and now you got a whole bunch of biomatter, and then you, I don't know, take that biomatter somewhere, do something with it. I don't know, maybe you feed it to fish stock or something. And then that way you get some of the money back there, and then because you also sell off some of the electricity from the solar power thing that I was talking about before, and when those trucks weren't in use that you own, from transporting the sludge, you can contract out the trucks, unless of course you were subcontracting, but it's better if you vertically integrate this entire thing, and so you own the trucks. So again, you can use the trucks to do other stuff while you're doing this. So you own the entire operation, and you're just making money on all these pieces. When some of them are inactive for the environmental cleaning parts, they're doing other things for the greater society. Like I said, with the solar, the solar will be giving electricity to nearby neighborhood, and the trucks will be transporting goods through the region, and the fish will be being fed, and these are just examples. I'm sure the people you hire to do surveying and investigating and stuff, and maybe the area around, if you want to plant some orchards or something, maybe you could do that. hire ranchers and farmers. If you're in, what would it be, Nebraska or something, get the local agriculture department of the university to weigh in on this. All sorts of things. These are the ideas that you need to do when you're thinking about this kind of thing. So that's what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's what I was thinking, is the whole solar tech booming, and then it's going to lead into atmospheric scrubbing, and there you go. They're going to do that. They're going to use microorganisms after they realize using mechanical scrubbers is just a no-go. It's a bad way of doing it. Well, it's not that it's a bad way. It's that nature's been working on this problem for billions of years. So we might as well just, since given the immediacy of the problem, we might as well just co-opt nature to do this, instead of trying to create a technology to do this in 3 years. If we had 50 years to create a technological solution to do this, we might be able to create an atmospheric processor that is the size of a skyscraper that can do it more efficiently. Might be able to do that. Or smaller. It might be possible, yeah. I can do, one of those that can scrub out the entire planet. Sure. But we don't have 50 years. So something like this might be a better solution, given the time constraints. Of course, I would posit that even extracting the CO2 would not be is not really going to help in exclusivity, because now there's so much heat in the ocean that's a problem. So I don't really know how to do that, how to solve that problem, but maybe we could launch a toupee into orbit for the Earth. I think, really, all we need to do, essentially, is to shield the top of the Earth for 12 hours. On one of the days when it would be melting, and give it that kind of reprieve of melting. And that might be enough after the CO2 has been scrubbed out. And then that might be enough to kind of repair the damage, because then the light would be reflective and it might push the things backward. But, again, I don't know enough about this. So, whatever. And some would say, we like the heat. I think especially the Canadians might say that. Be like, dude, it is too fucking cold here. We like the world to be warmer. I don't know. If the world could be warmer without all the extra water, without the increase in the sea levels, that would probably be nice. And without all the extinctioning, that would probably be good too. We could somehow spread out the heat. That might be a nice thing, like make the heat just like, make it not hotter at the equator, but just like make it like warmer in like where I was in Wisconsin and north, and the same way in the southern hemisphere. That might be good. And I gotta say, I think those Russians need to experience some warm weather, because their soul needs to be defrosted, I think. It's been chilled for thousands of years. And if they get some nice warm weather, maybe they'll be like, life is good. Don't take too much offense to that. It's a half joke. Drink some vodka, mix it with some margarita mix, and have fun. All right? I don't know. Is vodka and margarita? I don't know. All I know is that really, really eensy weensy crushed ice stuff with fruity stuff is yum. In theory, I've never had it. Okay. Oops. Have fun, everybody. I'm not showing you my balls. There's those. Oops.